Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Look, I wanted to talk to you about a serious subject here. It's veteran suicide. The headline here that I saw, and I've seen several of them over the last, couple weeks or so, and I just haven't had the strength, I guess, to talk about it. So the headline here that I'm going to read is Suicide Rates Surged Among Post 9/11 Veterans, Even as Deaths Remained Steady in the General Population, Study Finds. So suicide rates are surging among post 9/11 veterans. Now, suicide has been a conversation that's been around in the veteran community, right? More public, right? Over the last, years. So the last however many years, there's been a highlight on it and combating it and all of that stuff. And so it's sad to see that the rates are surging. This article is on military.com, and I'm just going to give a little piece here on it. It's a short little article, and then with just some stats. And then I'm also going to read another headline, which is Ambitious New Campaign Aims to Reduce Veteran Suicide Rate by Half. So here's a little piece on what's happening, and then something that is being done to help combat it here coming up. So hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend. I appreciate it. All right. And check in on your friends every once in a while. I mean, if you're not like an everyday person type of a thing, if it's not that close of a relationship, check in every once in a while, just how are things going. All right. So suicide among post 9/11 veterans rose more than tenfold from 2006 to 2020, even as the rate remained relatively flat in the general U.S. adult population, according to a new review of 2.5 million service member records. The findings were even more startling for veterans diagnosed with traumatic brain injury. Those veterans had suicide rates 56% higher than those without head injury, and 3 times higher than the general population. That U.S. veterans struggle with brain injuries, mental health conditions, and suicide was not news. Military service was before 2008 a protective factor against suicide, with troops having lower rates than their civilian counterparts. But since that year, which considered with a surge in combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, suicide rates have risen steadily, despite enormous efforts by the Department of Defense and Veterans Affairs to prevent deaths. The retrospective study published Monday in JAMA Neurology appears to show that those multi-million-dollar suicide prevention initiatives and programs have had little impact. We were pretty stunned, honestly, even though this is just a descriptive analysis. The trends are so alarming, we felt we needed to report it as soon as possible, said Jeffrey Howard, an associate professor of public health at University of Texas at San Antonio, who led the study. The study looked at the records of military veterans who served on active duty after September 11, 2001, and had received 3 years of medical care through the military health system, or at least 2 years at the VA. The researchers found that from 2006 to 2020, from 2006 to 2020, 8,262 veterans died by suicide, while 562,411 civilians died by suicide, which translates to a rate of roughly 42 per 100,000 for veterans versus roughly 18 per 100,000 for the general population when looking at groups across the 15-year time frame. The rates were highest among those ages 35 to 44, followed closely by those 25 to 34-year-old group, and among Native and Alaskan Americans, Asians, and Pacific Islanders, veterans with traumatic brain injury. The findings build on work published in February of 2022, also by Howard, that found veterans with even mild traumatic brain injury, as well as those with moderate to severe injuries were more likely to die by suicide, accidents, or homicides than their counterparts who had never received blows to the head. In an email Monday to military.com, Howard said his researchers published a brief published the brief because they had received an update on the National Death Index data through 2020, and the group was interested to see how the rates have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm going to conclude that there. It's all a bunch of data and just kind of digging in deeper to it. I'm going to switch over to this other article for you. If you've hung on, I appreciate you. So, ambitious new campaign aims to reduce suicide rate by half. Then there's a subtitle, "We cannot leave this problem only to the government," one expert said. So, every day, Andre Rush, a retired Army officer and former White House chef, does 2,222 push-ups. And every day he thinks about what that number symbolizes, a tribute to the military veterans who died daily from suicide. Rush's ritual is more than just a tribute, however. It's a reminder to never become complacent, that we still have work to do and we still have to keep going. Rush told ABC News, and you can't stop. You can never give up on something you believe in, especially people. The prominent chef, TV host, and advocate recently joined Face the Fight, a multi-million-dollar new initiative launched last month to cut in half, whatever, HALVE, have the suicide rate among veterans by 2030. When Rush began his push-ups, the daily veteran suicide rate was thought to be approximately 22. Subsequent government groups reports have shown that over the last 2 decades, it went from 16.4% or 16.4 suicides in 2001 to 16.8 in 2020, with a peak in 2018 of 18.6. In 2020, the suicide rate for veterans was 57.3% higher than for non-veteran adults, according to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs 2022 National Veteran Suicide Prevention Annual Report. Established by USAA, a financial company, many people know USAA, great insurance, banking, all that good stuff, a financial company for military members, veterans, and their families, and an initial $41 million in philanthropy money. I know what it means. I just can't talk. That's my problem. So, and it's not even that. It's a different word, but it's the same. It's a variant of that word. Whatever. You get it. Money for charities and good things. Grants. The Face the Fight campaign is designed to raise awareness and support for veteran suicide prevention. And I just assume you guys don't care that I can't say half the words that I'm trying to say. I know there's plenty of you out there that can read super good and can actually pronounce things. So I'm sure it's fun to see that happen. All right. So a coalition of corporations, foundations, nonprofits, and veteran-focused organizations are involved, such as the Humana Foundation and Reach Resilience and Endeavors Foundation. Rush knows firsthand how trauma can shadow someone's life, and the whole suicide can leave behind. And for those who don't know, Rush, he's that super buff White House chef guy. I mean, he's huge. So, all right. The last time I cried was 2 days ago, and so my next cry will probably be tomorrow, he said. It doesn't mean it's a weakness. Doesn't mean that I'm sad. It can be from happy. But for me, it's just a relief. I do this so much, and I take on so many people's energies, but I remember my own struggles. After witnessing the 9/11 terrorist attack while working in the Pentagon, Rush begins speaking out about veteran suicide and mental health. He discusses his own history with post-traumatic stress disorder, saying he's been facing the fight for a long time. Rush is also grieving the recent death of his 11-year-old daughter, Ava. Unfortunately, my daughter and her brothers, their lives were taken by the brother's father, who was a military veteran and also in law enforcement area, and in the law enforcement area, and he took another command sergeant major's life as well. And he took his own life afterwards, and his mother gave me permission to talk about this because she can't. And she won't for a very long time, Rush told Muscle and Fitness. Ava, two other children, and Sergeant Major Carlos Evans were killed in South Carolina in March by Charles Slacks Jr., who killed himself, according to WLTX. The only survivor was Slacks' ex-wife. So with that, we'll go ahead and end it there. The article continues on. I'll try to put it into the description for you. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.